Hello and welcome to Pock and Rob. In this video I'm going to be ranking my top 20 songs of the year, and I am joined, as I was on the review of the year, by my son Joel.
Hello.
Who will also be ranking his top 20 songs of the year. We set ourselves a couple of rules. One is we're only allowed one entry per artist. The reason being is only one can end up as the top song of the year, so therefore we've got to kind of slim it down. Several of the artists you will hear on here could have probably stacked 2 or 3 entries in these lists.
Oh, mine would be fully made up from songs from my top 5 albums of the year for the most part.
But we want to widen things out a bit. Before we go in and do that, we would remind you to subscribe if you've not already done so, to click the thumbs up to like the video, the bell to receive notifications of future content, share the video with someone else who might like it, and let's help grow our subscriber count to the next magic milestone of 250. So let's go in with number 20. And we've actually got a complete and utter crossover, like we did at the end of the list last year that we did.
Our number one last year was both of our number ones last year.
That's not how this works.
That's not how this works by Charlie Puth. This year, both of our number 20s are Hero by Charlie Puth.
Yeah. It's a Puth fest. It's a decent song. It's not one of his best.
No, I agree.
Yeah, but it's a grower.
Yeah.
Whereas That's Not How This Worked was an instant.
This is phenomenal.
Yeah. So we both got that as number 20. So
yeah.
Number 19.
My number 19 is Lonely as the Muse by Halsey. This is a really great rock pop crossover kind of track that's somewhat quite depressing.
My 19 is coming up higher on Joel's list, so we will skip mine.
My number 18 is Beautiful Things by Benson Boone. I know a lot of people don't really like this track, but I think it's a lot of, maybe not a lot of fun, but a great pop.
It was on my long list.
Rock. It's not really rocky, but I think his vocals
do.
I think his vocals are powerful, and I performed this at Dad's 50th birthday party.
Yeah, it was in the long list. It was a decent song. My number 18 is coming up later on someone else's list.
My number 17 is Winning Streak by Jelly Roll. It's a good country song about trying to get off alcohol.
Or drugs, yeah. It's an Alcoholics Anonymous thing. It's an abstinence song.
Yeah.
Nobody walks through the door with a winning streak. My number 17, Pet Shop Boys' Schlager Hit Parade from Nonetheless. It evokes 1980s Pet Shop Boys so much. It's always Christmas or the sound of summer in the Schlager Hit Parade. And the Schlager Hit Parade refers to the German top 40, etc. And it's classic Pet Shop Boys. Delightful song. Schlager Hit Parade, my number 17.
My number 16 will come up later on Dad's list.
Whereas my number 16 will not come up on Joel's list. It's Chapel Rowan and Good Luck Babe. Now, I didn't take to her 2023 album, although I might give it another listen. Good Luck Babe is a standalone single release, got to number 1, and it's really good.
It is good.
It's a really good song. I mean, the slowdown at the end throws me whenever I'm hearing it every time, but it's a good pop single. Good Luck Babe, number 16.
My number 15 will come up later on Dad's list.
My number 15 is by Bruce Dickinson. It's Rain on the Graves. It's a good, hard metal song. Rain on the Graves, which was the second single released, is a good rock song, and it's my number 15.
My number 14 is that song that will not be clean on the playlist, and it is Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. This song has gotten me into hip-hop this year, or at least Kendrick Lamar as a rapper. It was genuinely world-shaking in terms of pop culture. It has almost completely ended Drake's career, I'd imagine.
Drake will be back. My number 14 is a number 1 hit single. It's Beyonce's Texas Hold'em. This was our 5th number 1, actually, as a career, I think.
Only 5th?
Yeah, only 5th. And it's a really good pop song. I've played this at a friend's 50th birthday party. It's fun to play. It's fun to sing, so long as you're not singing the swear words that are in there. There is a sanitised version. Yeah. Don't be a, hey, now take it to the floor now. And it's It's a good, fun pop song. And I think Cowboy Carter is a better album than you do, although I don't think it's a particularly country album. But
This is the best song on the album.
It isn't.
Then why didn't you put the other one?
Because the best song on the album is Blackbird. But Blackbird is a cover.
Well, yeah, obviously. The best original song from the album.
Yeah.
My number 13 is Hostage by Maggie Lindemann. This came out right at the start of the year. I think it was like the 19th of January that it came out. And I've been listening to it all year. And somehow Maggie Lindemann ended up as my 4th artist on Spotify Wrapped, which was a bit surprising. But this song would probably had something to do with that.
My number 13 was lower down on Joel's list. It is The Lathams and No Direction.
Yeah, this was my number 16.
This came out in June or July, I think, this year. So we've been listening to this since the summer because I put it on the summer playlist, not knowing the song, and not being taken with it when I first heard it, playing in the car. But the more I've listened to it, the more I've actually really grown to really like There Is No Direction But Up and the punch in that. I'm stoked for their new album.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this is on it. I know that the other track is
Stella Cast.
Stella Cast is definitely on it, but I don't know whether this will be. They have released
I do like Stella Cast
standalone
as well.
tracks previously. But then they've also released an album when something came out nearly a year before, which was Sad Faced Baby. But yeah, excited for the Lathams' new album. And No Direction is part of the reason. It's number 13.
Yep. My number 12 is My Fault by Shabuzi. Several of these songs on my list will have been... I liked them the first time I heard them. They're slow. I put them on my study playlist to listen to in school. And then every time I heard it, it gets better. And this is one of those tracks. This is just a beautiful... And pretty much Shabuzi's only pure country song. There's no hip-hop in there at all. Noah Cyrus comes in for the second verse, and I really like her voice, which I wasn't expecting to say about one of the Cyruses. She's only distant relative of Miley Cyrus, Billy Ray Cyrus.
I thought the Cyruses was some bizarre R&B group or something.
No, yeah, I don't particularly like
Staying in.
either of the other any of the other Cyrus voices I've heard, but I really do like Noah Cyrus's voice. I might listen to some more stuff by her. But yeah, I really like this. I really like My Fault.
Stay in, isn't it?
I really like My Fault.
My number 12. The title track of the Tortured Poets Department. I completely agree. Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist.
And that's the only reason it's there.
It's not the only reason. There was several possible Taylor Swift tracks. So things like My Boy Only Breaks His Favourite Toys is a really good song. And so is Who's Afraid of Little Old Me.
Wasn't that the one that you put on the playlist at first?
No, it was Who's Afraid of Little Old Me.
That you had on the playlist, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it.
Yeah. And then I realised I actually prefer Tortured Poets gets in my head.
She's one of the most influential people in the world. There's a very good reason to be scared of her. She's got a stan army that's bigger than any other stan army.
Clara Bow could also have been in there, where she
That one's
self-references. It was a better album than you think.
I didn't
Because
listen to
you
it.
didn't listen to it. Tortured Poets Department, the track, at number 12 for me.
My number 11 is The Greatest by Billie Eilish. It's a really powerful song. In the context and outside of the context of the album. It's... Billie Eilish doesn't belt very much, but when she goes for it, it's powerful. She's got a really strong voice that I think she should use more. And especially in songs like The Greatest.
My number 11 is about a fiberglass gorilla. Gary by Blossoms. It's just a joyful song. It really is. What a bizarre subject to write a song about.
Yeah.
The theft of a fiberglass gorilla. And it's all the better for it. Keep an eye out for Gary. My number 11.
My number 10 will be coming up later on Dad's list.
My number 10 is Paul Heaton and Fish and Chip Supper. There's something about the stompy, almost glam feel of the song that just delights me. But the lyrics, he bought her a fish and chip supper to make up for things that he'd done in the day, but the smell was so good, he opened them up and polished them off on the way. It's just great story, fun songwriting.
Stupid.
It's
You
a
had two
delightful
stupid
song.
songs back to back.
Yeah, but you need some lightheartedness,
Yeah,
and
I
Fish and Chip Supper totally provides it. It's my number 10.
My number 9, I do not think is a better song than the previous 11 songs on my list, but I just like it. And it is Angry Cry by As December Falls. Nobody will have heard it because As December Falls are very small, but it's a really fun pop punk song about being angry and crying.
We did hear this, it was alright. Yeah.
And it's not particularly good. I just like it.
Well, from angry crying to emotional, slightly happy crying, I've got number 9, the opening track of Fathers and Sons by Luke Combs, which is Front Door Famous. When I heard this, and this whole idea, I mean, it's written from the point of view of Luke Combs himself, and the fact that he's out on tour, and when he's away on tour, he doesn't see his kids. But nothing is better, no matter how big the adulation of a crowd is, than when he turns up at his own front door, hears his son shout "Daddy" at the top of his lungs, and power down the hall to go run and give his dad a hug. It's beautiful. It actually brought tears to my eyes as I was listening to that when I first heard it. It stemmed the emotional reaction that the album actually produced. Lovely song, Front Door Famous. What a beautiful sentiment. My number 9.
My number 8 is I Had Some Help by Post Malone. This was the big hit from the album. And
With Morgan Wallen?
yeah,
you do not like.
who I don't particularly like on his own, but I do like him on this track. I don't really know if this is still my favourite Post Malone song from the album, but I think it probably is. It's just the album is so strong. I was picking between 4 for my song Post Malone song of the year, and this one narrowly won.
Interesting. My number 8 is the closing track of Conan Gray's album, and it's The Winner. Absolutely fantastic song. Nobody's broken my heart like you. That makes you the winner. That's the whole point of the song. And it's... I can't quite place what it reminds me of. Maybe it's some of the... It's 80s style, so maybe it's some of those great 80s torch songs by artists like the Eurythmics or Erasure, and particularly Erasure, that it just works. It's a great song, The Winner. And although you've not listened to the album, you have listened to the track The Winner, and it was good, wasn't it?
Yeah. My number 7 somehow has ended up higher on Dad's list than mine.
Yeah, no one predicted that. My number 7 was lower down on Joel's list, and it is Strange Days from Green Day's album Saviours.
Strange Days are here to stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my number 15.
It's the best track on Saviours, and Saviours
Yeah.
is a great album.
The reason it's lower on mine, even though it is the best track on Saviours, is because for me, Saviours is a very consistent album.
Yes, it is a very consistent album.
Because Saviours, if you watch, spoilers for the album video, but it was my number 4 album of the year.
And my number 3.
Even though the best song on it is only my 15th favourite song of the year.
That's fair.
It's just consistent. My number 6 is Bulletproof by Nate Smith. I really like this. I heard this for the first time because Avril Lavigne featured on a version of it, and therefore it came up on my release radar on Spotify, so I decided to have a listen. I really liked it. It's a really good country, rocky style song, and is my favourite country song of the year.
My number 6 is Golden Years by the Lemon Twigs. This has strong Beach Boy and Wings vibes. Again, bit like the Green Day album, it's a very consistent album. And there were 3 or 4 other tracks that were in contention, like A Dream Is All We Know and Peppermint Roses. But in the end, Golden Years, the opening track, just has the edge and took the spot in the ranking list and ends up at number 6.
My number 5 will appear later on Dad's list.
My number 5 is the opening track of Ampersand by Bastille and its intros and narrators. I'm not that fond of Bastille lead singer's vocals. But that the album itself is a songwriter's album, and it's great songwriting. And intros and narrators is my favourite thing off it. I love the chorus lyrics. Take a walk with me through my eyes. I'm your friend, your lover, and your traitor. Take a walk with me in my mind. I'm the unreliable narrator. I love that chorus. I think that's just great songwriting, and the whole idea that he doesn't want to be the lead character in his own story. It's a really good song. Intros and narrators. My number 5.
My number 4 is All Falls Down by Lizzie McAlpine. This is just a really... the thing is, the lyrics are so pessimistic, at least how I understand them, but it's the happiest song on the album. It's a really odd mix of optimism and pessimism throughout the song, and it's the happiest thing on the album. It's really catchy, and it could be higher on the list, honestly.
My number 4 was a shocker.
I'm shocked this was higher on yours than mine.
Sabrina Carpenter, Please, Please, Please.
Yeah, this was my number 7.
How... Now, I listened to this when I did my video back in July of every number 1 of my birthday. And this was number 1 on my birthday. And I remember rating it probably around about the 30th. I liked it. The more I've listened to it, the more I've grown to love it. It is so well written.
Yeah.
And it is, for me, the second best pop song of the year. And that is really an only just. In terms of being a pure pop song, it's the best pop song of the year.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Please, please, please. Better than Espresso.
Oh,
Definitely better than
yes,
Espresso.
definitely a bit. I think both Please, Please, Please and Taste are better than Espresso. I think Espresso's...
Once this
good.
song is in your head,
It doesn't
it's
leave.
hard to get it out. It's a real earworm.
My number 3 is the song I've picked from my album of the year, and it is Navigating by 21 Pilots. This is just a really... It showed up earlier on Dad's list at
19.
19. It's 21 Pilots aren't really known for their pure alt-rock songs, but this is one of them. I tend to enjoy 21 Pilots songs that are led by Josh Dunn on drums more than the really slow or really rappy based ones, even though I do really like those. And this is definitely that. It's also got a killer bass line. Mm-hmm. I really like Navigating.
My number 3 is the best hit single of the year.
Yeah.
For me, it was your number 5. It's Die With A Smile by Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga.
Yeah, this was my number 5.
It's a terrific song.
It is.
I understand Bruno Mars might be coming out with an album next year, and I'm interested again.
Even though Apt
as
was
a
not
result
very
of
good.
Die With A Smile.
Apt wasn't very good immediately after.
Okay.
But that's a Rosé song. Or...
Don't think I've heard it. But Die With A Smile. I'm not particularly fond of Lady Gaga. I'm not massively fond of Bruno Mars, but I admire what he does. The two of them together, I would like an album.
My number 2 showed up earlier on Dad's list, much earlier, and it is Risk by Gracie Abrams. I really like Risk.
Yeah, this was a late addition on my list.
I heard it when I was sitting in the car while you were voting. I heard it on the radio. I listened to the album the next day, which I don't tend to do. I tend to hear a song, put it on my playlist, hear it for a few months, and then go and listen to the album. And the album ended up being my 5th favourite of the year. I really like Risk.
Do your number 1.
Why?
You'll see why.
Okay. My number 1, because Dad's asked me to do 1 and 2 back to back, is Hypothetically by Jenna Rain. This is another song that ended up on my study playlist. This song has had a real impact on me this year. I don't know. It's special to me, and I can't really explain it. No, most people haven't heard it. If people have heard any Jenna Rain song this year, it's been Roses. But Hypothetically, I think it's just beautiful. Yeah.
My number one, because ultimately I couldn't separate them.
Okay.
I have got them written separately, but I knew it was something that I would probably change, and then I've changed it back. I cannot separate them. So it's a joint number one. And so the first co-number one is Architect by Casey Musgraves, which is your number 10.
This was my number 10.
This song is beautiful. It's the reason I bought the album, and the rest of the album is fantastic. It is the outlier on the album because it's the only one that is not written by the same trio. She wrote it with somebody else. And the whole premise of the song is after yet another school shooting in America, she started questioning whether or not there's a God. Is there an architect? There's some beautiful lines in the song, like one day you're on top of the mountain, feel like you'll never come down, then the wind at your back carries embers and ash and burns your whole house to the ground. It's so well written, but it's tied with my other number one, which is Nosedive by Post Malone featuring Lainey Wilson. And this song is amazingly good. It was one of the ones that was in contention for your Post Malone thing, wasn't it? I love the word painting in it. Like, sometimes you're breaking, sometimes you're balling, but there's still beauty in the nosedive, and they know that it just works. And it's life affirming. It's telling that even when things go wrong, sometimes there's still beauty, there's still purpose in that. And their Architect and Nosedive are on very similar themes, very similar ground, really, when you work it out. That there is something behind what happens to you. She's questioning it, but he's saying there definitely is. They are two phenomenally good songs, and I couldn't, in the end, actually separate them.
Yeah.
I just loved them both. And they both bring an emotional reaction in me, and it's lovely. They're my number ones. Nosedive by Post Malone and Architect by Casey Musgraves.
My number one was Jenna Rain, hypothetically.
So that concludes our Songs of the Year. Go and listen to them. Come back, leave us a comment and tell us what you think of our 20 songs. Where would you have ranked them, and what perhaps have we missed off? We'll be back with another video, but until then, I'd remind you to subscribe, like, click the bell, share the video, and thanks for watching.